Welcome to the AutoSucess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest is Rich Sands from Stella Automotive. Welcome, Rich.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me today. Pleasure to be here.
Let's get started with a little bit about you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the career path that led you to where you are today with Stella?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So I got a little over 20 years in the automotive experience, about 25 years. My career started in manufacturing with contract manufacturing, where I really was exposed to software in the automotive space. And from there, it moved into big data and spent time with J.D. Power, Ford Motor Company, and then at Microsoft. And then most recently was appointed CEO of Stella Automotive earlier this year.
Tell me about why it's important for car dealerships to win on the phone.
You know, Brian, that's a great question. The phone is where we see a lot of very specific activity from consumers. We believe the phone is a clear indicator of a very lower funnel buyer that's on the verge of spending money and engaging with the dealership. And the point of engagement is critical to a dealership's success in terms of customer loyalty, retention, customer satisfaction. So winning on the phone is really important. As you know, today there's a huge staffing shortage and also a challenge with winning on the phone at dealerships. And what Stella provides is that opportunity to provide a beautiful branded experience, very consistent and in line with the OEM, the brand, and the dealer, so that they have the consumers have a wonderful experience when they call a dealership.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you about a little bit about AI. It's kind of, I always giggle a little bit because, you know, on the cover of AutoSucess, we recently had something that looks like a Terminator. Everybody thinks Terminator, right?
Sure.
And, you know, some people are like, oh, AI could never do that. Other people are like, it's just a matter of time. Tell me where dealerships today should be using AI and where shouldn't they be using AI?
Yeah, great question. And to be honest, AI can be a big scary thing because there's a lot of information that flows into AI that you probably hear about and read about in the press. We love all types of AI because it's really empowering efficiency in the marketplace on global economies. But when you dial it into the automotive retailer, we get very specific. And I think it's important to know that AI is here as an enabler. It helps find efficiency for your people. It elevates your human resources, your human capital. By taking workload, any redundant workload off of your human resources, off your people, and allowing your consumers to have a really pleasant experience when they engage in your dealership. So our AI is designed to help improve that beginning to end experience of interacting with your dealership, everywhere from sales, service, F&I, warranty, recall, you name it. It's the full customer journey that AI can enhance and elevate so that your consumers have a great experience. And then there's also a point in time where AI probably isn't applicable yet, and that's really when you get into more advanced, complex conversations, and that's where we feel a human-to-human conversation is appropriate.
So basically what you're saying is it's like back to the good old days when you walked into a dealership and you sat face to face and you talked to a person that might know how many kids you have, that you went to school with, and when you came into the service department, they knew your name. Like instead of like waiting for them while they're on the phone, like one minute, like you actually get to engage with another human being and build relationships.
Shocker, right? I mean,
wow.
Imagine that. And talk about building brand loyalty in a phenomenal customer experience. Yeah. You know, we used the analogy back in the day of going to the dealership was worse than going to the dentist. And now we see this changing where people are excited to go to a retailer and experience what that retailer has to offer. So you're right, having a positive human-to-human experience can be a very big part of this equation. AI in general powers that by taking off that workload off of your service advisors or your BDC so that they can spend time with the customer in the service lane right in front of them.
Wow. I want to talk about compliance, because I mean, compliance in dealerships is a big deal. How safe is it to hand over some of that information to AI, and what do dealers need to think about, and is it safe to hand over that information to AI?
Yeah, great question. So the data compliance is real. It's here. We need to follow the state and federal mandates from GDPR, CCPA in California. These are real regulations that are in place, SOC 2. All of which we comply with. But the important part about this is that the data stays with the dealer. It's important for dealers who have built up their customer base, they've spent time and energy, money, attracting and retaining these customers, that those customers' data stays with the dealership. And the dealership should know that any AI engine that comes into their dealership isn't selling their data or using their data through any third-party APIs that they didn't authorize. So it's important that dealers understand that the data stays inside the dealership's four walls and is used to benefit that specific rooftop.
Okay. I recently I've heard about it on the news. I guess probably more literally podcasts, but
Sure.
I've been hearing about AI hallucinations. Like, so AI can actually hallucinate, from what I understand. If the AI can hallucinate and come up with crazy answers that aren't true, how confident can a dealer be that the AI is not going to hallucinate when it's talking to their customer and tell them something that's inaccurate?
True, it's important, and that's why we've designed Stella as a completely contained in-house system. So Stella's AI is powered by our own private lab, and the data stays inside the dealer's four walls on their specific instance. And then on top of that, the hallucinations are only a product, what you hear about in the press, are a product of what goes in. So out in ChatGPT, that only knows what's heard, seen, or has been input into the system. So you could type in anything around a particular topic, and that's the latest intelligence that the system has, and it tries to grade and score whether that's applicable or not. That is not the case with Stella. What we do at Stella is keep everything very tight, controlled, and branded per the OEM, per the brand, and per the dealership, so that there is no opportunity for hallucinations or false information to come into that equation or into that response, in our world, into that conversation, whether it's on the phone, text, chat, omni-channel. So the hallucinations are a non-issue. We run constant controls mechanisms to make sure that the system is producing responses that are in line with the branded experience that dealer is looking for, and creating a positive experience for the consumer. There are correct answers, and then there's guesses, and what we are after is correct answers that provide specific deliverables and accomplish specific tasks for those consumers.
You used brand a couple of times in that answer, so I want to dig a little deeper on that. So, are we talking about, if I'm a Ford dealer and next door you're a Chevy dealer, that the experience is going to be different because one is in line with the Chevy brand and one is in line with the Ford brand? Or are we talking about I'm a Ford dealer and you're a Ford dealer across town, and it's going to be different because our dealerships have different personalities and we have different goals with what takes place on the phone? Or is it both? Or explain that to me.
You're right, it's both. So what we've done and what we've been able to create is a very configurable experience. So the OEMs and the brands, have in this case, Ford have created and spent a lot of money to protect that brand experience from beginning to end. And so we protect and enhance and celebrate that as the consumer goes into that brand, experiences the brand, and that can be configured down to the rooftop level. So in that first example, the Ford experience can be different than the Chevrolet experience, but you can also have two Ford dealers side by side, and they will have two different experiences because the dealer can still configure that experience for the consumer at their rooftop. So if they have a specific workflow that they want to follow at dealership A, that can be a different workflow than dealership B, but they still will have the overall Ford brand experience, but a very unique, different experience when they go into the individual rooftop.
Wow, so this question is a little bit more about the season. How easy is it? Because different brands have different seasons. You have a sell-a-thon, you have a December to remember, you have all these different things that so is it easy for the dealer to say, okay, from November until January 15th, I want to have this type of experience? Is it something that they can change kind of on the fly?
Absolutely, you're right. So every dealer is in charge of their data, they're in charge of the flow, and we set that up so it's first ring. So as soon as you call the dealership, Stella picks up on the first ring, multiple calls at the same time, unlimited calls same time, and then it's a wonderful experience from beginning to end all the way through. And as different events unfold, you can configure your experience on the phone so that your consumers are experiencing a different path. In some cases, if you want to have them on the September to remember, for example, you can articulate that up front. And so that you're communicating this specific message for your consumers at that time frame. You can also do it by department. So you could have one unique for sales, one for service, one for F&I, one for parts. As you go through different elements of the dealership, you can have very branded experiences that go into different departments.
Oh, that's cool.
That's the whole point. So really what we want to do is allow consumers to come into your dealership and be able to accomplish a task as quickly and efficiently and as positively as possible, saving them time, saving your team time, and then allowing your human resources to be able to interact with people in the store, and or if it's a phone call, in a much elevated experience, meaning a more complex topic.
Cool. I want to go back to I think it was your answer like 2 questions ago, but you mentioned that you guys had a dedicated AI lab, and then you mentioned the differences between like a ChatGPT, like an off-the-shelf AI. Can you elaborate on what really makes that different, and what are the advantages of one versus the other?
Sure, I'll tell you that to build an AI engine takes a long time and a lot of money. And there's large language models, and there's natural language processing, and all these complex algorithms that go into that. Our lab was developed back in 2015 by Jocelyn Baudet, and she did an incredible job of spending time and energy building up a proper AI engine based on her years of experience working basically in patent law, which then used large language models to identify specific use cases. So she developed our lab and then built it out and tested it with large industrial manufacturers, cut our teeth all in the late teens. And then in the 2000s, just a year and a half ago, is when Stella was launched. And it basically is unique and proprietary access to that AI lab. And that gives us a huge market advantage because we're able to get automotive retail specific AI technology that's custom built, purpose built, and delivered flawlessly directly into Stella at an incredible pace. And by pace, I mean like every 2 weeks. We're getting new feature functionalities that are dropped into Stella to enhance that consumer experience. So that's a huge market advantage in being able to leverage our own private lab using state-of-the-art AI technology.
Consumer experience and consumer satisfaction, customer satisfaction. I mean, those are important with every brand. What have you seen? What's the result? I mean, to go from a person answering the phone to AI answering the phone, is it measurable? Like, does it change it quickly? Like, what have you seen?
Absolutely. So first of all, we do an extensive amount of work on our performance metrics so we can measure your business before Stella, after Stella. And what we're seeing across the board is a significant improvement in the customer experience because they are having a much more favorable, positive experience on the phone. At the very beginning, there is a little bit of a learning curve where people are like, oh, I'm talking to an AI agent here. And then after just a few minutes, you'll see the immediate engagement and they start moving through the rest of the process. So from a customer satisfaction standpoint, where we do the hard measurables at the end of the day, we are seeing an uptick in customer satisfaction. And in customer experience, when we get the verbatims and what did you think about using Stella, it's off the charts. People are really enjoying using Stella because it's first ring answer, it's branded. Stella knows you by your first name when you pick up the phone. She routes you directly to where you want to go, whether it's a person or a department or accomplishing a task. And because we have unique read-write access into the dealer CRM and DMS, we can then accomplish and schedule service appointments and update, modify, et cetera. So you're able to quickly and efficiently accomplish what you called the dealership to do. So there's no more ring, 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 press 1 for sales, 2 for service, ring, 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 can you hold a minute, ring, 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 a voicemail.
Yeah.
Those days are over.
Yeah, a voicemail that never gets returned, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, and so now Stella is answering those calls and accomplishing the tasks. It's very productive, very efficient. Consumers like that.
Well, Rich, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today?
Sure. So I think it's important to understand that there's a role for AI in the automotive space. I think what we're going to see is a lot of attention around AI as a co-pilot that's going to help navigate consumers through this brand to retail experience around the customer journey. We're very excited to be at the center of that. And that AI is an enabler of your people, and it allows your people to elevate their role within the dealership. AI is a powerful tool that can help drive customer satisfaction, as we talked about. But I think really, in addition to that, at the end of the day, it helps the dealer do 3 things, which is that it saves money because it takes workload off your people. It makes money because it allows your people to do more elevated, more revenue-generating activities. And 3, it improves the customer satisfaction, which is absolutely critical to all dealership experiences.
Awesome. Thank you for coming.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this AutoSucess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest has been Rich Sands from Stella Automotive. We hope to see you again soon. This episode is Over the Curb and Burning Gas.